Okay, so very quickly, let's be reminded that when we're converting between metric and household measurements, that we're talking about equivalents. These are approximate, okay? Approximate equivalents, which is why we much prefer that families use metric measuring tools, because when you're converting within the same system, then the numbers are equal. They're not just equivalent. So you know here, 5 mils is the equivalent of 1 teaspoon. 15 mils, the equivalent of 3 teaspoons or a tablespoon. 30 mils, 2 tablespoons or an ounce. When you get up to 8 ounces, it's the same as a cup, which is the equivalent of 240 milliliters. And this is where things change. This is where they change. You remember that when we were talking about ratios and proportions and then fractions, that whatever you do to the numerator, you need to do to the denominator to keep everything the same. So then, if I have 8 ounces of volume to begin with, and then I have 16 ounces of volume, I've multiplied the 8 by 2, right? And got 16 ounces. Yep. So that makes sense then that I would also have 2 cups down here. And that is 1 pint. And as I said, this is where the problem comes along. Because when we look at the Calculate with Confidence book and any other resource, we find that when we are talking about 1 pint, that is the equivalent of 500 milliliters. Okay? Now I multiplied the 8 by 2 and got 16. I multiplied 1 cup by 2 and got 2 cups. So I should multiply 240 by 2 and get 480, but I don't. Okay? This is where the problem is. Now, if I have 32 ounces, which would be a quart, I have 1,000 milliliters, or 1 liter. And again, we're back to equivalence. All right? So here's the take-home message, that in the smaller numbers, the smaller amounts of volume, there are very good relationships between the metric and the household. But when we get to the larger volumes, it's not as good a relationship. The other thing is that you need to memorize. You need to memorize that for this part, yeah, you can do the multiplication and division and figure out where you're going. But when we get to right here, that multiplying 240 mils, which is 1 cup, times 2 will not give us the 480 mils that is the equivalent of 16 ounces or 2 cups. It is 500 mils. So memorize this and this.